Hey gang, this is a video update on the Orion RXB 250. I want to say happy Easter to everybody. I hope everyone's safe with this coronavirus thing going on. It's been crazy. I don't know about you guys, but I got my work hours cut down. I'm happy to even still have work, but you know, I went from full-time to 30, so mods have been on the back burner a little bit for me right now. But I wanted to tell everybody about some things that I've learned. There's a gentleman in the Orion X Motos owners group on Facebook. His name is Joe Henner. He has a race mod shop, and he does repairs and stuff like that, and race mods. He has access to a dyno and a flow bench. And recently, he's been doing a lot more work than anybody else has been in that group in regards to the RXB 250s, especially the R model, the off-road model. So recently, he's done a Rev Box, the big Gun Rev Box. He did what he called rifle boring of the stock carb, which increased the bell housing size almost to 30 millimeters. It gets rid of a lip in the back. So it takes the 28 carb, it's still the same size in the front where it connects to the intake manifold. But on the back side where it connects to the air boot, he increased that size. There's a lip in there, and by boring it, you decrease the amount of metal in there. So there's more of an even flow going through the carburetor itself. He did some head mods, he did some porting, switched to a DCR Cam, which is Daniel Crower Racing. They're very big in Indy. I know them from my father. Back in the day, you know, he owned his own shop and knew a lot about automotive stuff. So they're very big in Indy racing, but they do all kinds of camshafts, and they've got a real good one that, like I said, Joe Henner has tried out and said that it's really good for mid-range and above. That being said, let's start from the beginning. He started right from the start the way he got his bike, and ended up with about 18.5 or 18 horsepower is what he's claiming he got. And then he did the Rev Limiter, which allows the bike to go from like 7,500 all the way to almost to 9,000 RPMs. So if you want to get higher rev range and get a little bit more out of your engine, just that alone is going to help a little bit, because it also comes with a different timing curve, and that will help you get off throttle response. So after doing all the mods, if you did everything that he did, he went to a Wiseco 11-in-1 piston, which is something I've been touting from the beginning. Compression is a great way to get power across the band of anything, from bottom to top. Wiseco sells an 11-to-1 compression piston. I never pulled the trigger because I never knew the wrist pin size, the pin that connects to the connecting rod. But Joe says it works out fine. He's installed it, no problems. You don't even need to bore. They recommend a hone, but if, like us, none of us is really much over 20 hours yet because of when we bought our bikes and when we've been doing mods. So I would imagine you could drop that in there, no problems. But if you wanted to do a light hone and you had the capabilities, or you had somebody who could do a light hone, Weisco recommends that. So the Weisco 11-to-1 piston, the DCR Cam, Daniel Crower Racing, the big Gun Rev Limiter, which is behind your front number plate on the R model. It's the electronic control box. Some slight porting, some intake cleaning up the intake, and rifle boring the carb. Like I said, in the back end, he took a lip off the back of it. all that together got him almost to 25 horsepower. A 25% increase, that's a huge amount of increase, but like he said all along, you have to do all the mods. Actually, another thing that he did too was there's a big weld lip, a very restrictive lip on the inside of the header pipe where it connects to the, where it actually goes into the head as the exhaust is coming out. It's very restrictive, so I've done this one too. I went through 2 grinding stones trying to get it down, but for me it was almost 25% that I took off to get to 100% straight flow through the barrel of the, not the barrel, sorry, through the pipe itself, the exhaust header pipe coming out. After that, with the R models, the exhaust is straight flow. Some people have put a camera down there. There's nothing in the way. It's, you know, that's just that big hole going all the way through the back until you get to your muffler or your silencer. But again, sorry, a little sidetrack. You can gain up to 25%, the equivalent of about 4 or 5 horsepower on an 18, even a little bit more than that actually, on an 18.5 horsepower stock engine, if you do all the mods. 11-to-1 piston, head porting, a little bit of grinding work in there, the cam, the Rev Box, the Rev Limiter, Rev Box, rifle boring the carburetor, getting your jetting correct is a matter also too. It has a lot to do with it. You have to get that jetting just right. I was a proponent of going up to a 32 millimeter carburetor from the beginning, but Joe has done a lot of work. A couple other people came to me. It was something I noticed right from the beginning. You'll see in another video I talked about it. The initial size, it came with a 28 millimeter. Some people were saying it came with 30, but I measured mine. It was 28 millimeter. The intake tube itself is only 28 millimeter, and going into the head is even a little bit less than that. So going to a 32, it was just kind of the pulse, the intake charge and flow was just kind of hitting a brick wall, basically. You weren't getting the right amount of flow through. I could get real technical and complicated about it, but just think of like water trying to keep going down in different sizes. Yes, it goes faster, but it also is getting restricted. Basically, it's become consensus that the 28 millimeter is the ideal carb for this setup, unless you're doing some severe head modifications and some porting, but without spending tons and tons of money. Go back to 28s. If you thought about that, doing the 32 and you haven't pulled the trigger, don't pull the trigger. And if you have, I'm going to say you might want to go back to the 28 millimeter. That's what I did. And it seems to be the way to go. Also, at the end of the exhaust pipe, where it meets the head, there's supposed to be a gasket. I personally didn't have it and just found out, and I was wondering why my engine was backfiring quite a bit. Even with the 32, it did backfire a little. I just thought that was a normal thing. A lot of race engines kind of do a little backfire. They run a little rich and they backfire. But that was me being confused. I don't have a lot of experience with 4-stroke. I've been a 2-stroke guy in the past. So I'm learning all this from Joe. Again, shout out to Joe Henner. But anyways, there's a copper gasket. It's round, cylindrical, that you put between the header pipe and the mating surface of the cylinder itself, the exhaust hole. And that takes up space and gets everything nice and tight in there. So having some backfire or you're hearing some popping, you may have that scenario going on like I did. And you can just order it for a CRF230F. And they're copper, they're cheap, $5 or $6. I've already ordered up some for mine, so that's a good thing. Gearing is very, very important. If you're riding, Joe and I, we are more motocross based. We ride on tracks a little bit more so than off-road. In the past, I've said that my bike's going to be a little bit more off-road, so I was trying to come with a compromise. The compromise I came up with was a 13 front and a 48 rear. But I bought the 12 and a 50 for if you're just doing track work, like if you wanted to upgrade all your parts like I have, you're going to absolutely have to upgrade your rims. I'm going to talk about that next, but getting back to just gearing. For the track, I would say a 1250 is the way to go. It tightens everything up and makes your cornering, coming out of corners, much, much better. But you'll shift a lot, and you won't have the high end. So for off-road, I went with the 1348. And with that scenario, that gives me a little bit more top end, and each gear holds a little bit longer. So like anyone will tell you, gearing is very important, and you might want to look into it. I know a lot of people do the L models, which is the off-road, and I don't have a lot to offer you guys there, but I'm sure other people in the Facebook group, the Orion X Motos owner group, can help you out with that. I know quite a few people. I think even more people own the L model, the off-road model, the street model than the off-road model, the R, the 250, Orion RXB 250R is the off-road. Orion RXB 250L is for the street. So going back to the rims. Not bashing Orion, they made a price point bike, and it is the one that I own is what I call quote unquote a trail bike, or maybe a true off-road bike. Not for the tracks like what I've been using, which I have used it more than anything else. I've done trails, you can see videos, totally capable bike for trails, and I've posted 3 or 4 videos of it. I love it on the trails. It's definitely good, but the rims that it came with were steel, and the spokes were small, and the nipples were small. And for me, they pulled through. The nipple came through the rims, and I trashed 2 sets of rims. So I bought the budget-minded Tusk impact rims, front and back. And people have asked me about what they are. So the front, I got a 2014 CRF 250R, I think they call it 250Fs, the motocross bike. Tusk impact rims and spokes on the front is what I ordered and put on. They were perfect, no problems. 36 spokes go on the front. I didn't have to manipulate them in any way, shape, or form. Set up the rim, trued it out. I built my own truing stand, and got that one like amazingly perfect. I couldn't believe how good up and down and left and right it was able to be trued. And the spokes and the nipples are just immensely larger, higher quality, and an aluminum rim. In the rear lasted me quite a while. I was surprised how long it actually lasted with the stocks. I was much more vigilant about keeping the spokes tight. That matters a ton, obviously. But eventually they did finally I trashed a wheel, and I also had to do the back. So for the back, I ordered a 2014 CRF230F rim, 32 holes on the backs. Also, I had to, just because they didn't have them, same scenario, Tusk rim from Rocky Mountain ATV. The spokes were not in stock at the time because of all the stuff that was going on with China, and they're from China. So I had to get Moose Racing, and they were a little bit larger spokes. They're even more robust. And what I had to do was actually bend them to the same contour that the original spokes had. So I took them in a vise and bent the same angle. They came a little bit more straight from Moose Racing than what is on the Orion. I don't know about how the Tusk ones will work, and I would tell anyone who's doing it, try it in the way that it comes to you first, and see if you can bend that spoke into position without having any kind of curve in the spoke. You want the spokes to still be straight. If you can't do that, then I would say put them to bend them in a vise so that they're the same angle as the stock spokes that came out. I know that's confusing and a lot of work, but you really have to have that. You can't have a bow in the spoke. But once I did that, they worked up fine. You do have to match the way that the rim goes with the rotor side. So I don't know if I can see it here. Can't see it. The size of the rim, the printed size of the rim, it'll tell you the rim size, 18 inch by whatever it is, 2.25. That side needs to be the same side as the brake rotor when you're starting to lace it up. It matters for direction of the spokes and the length. In the back, you have two different size spokes. So pay attention to what you took out from your stock spokes. I believe it's the insides are longer than the outsides. I may have that right. I may have that backwards, but make sure anybody who knows the difference, please put it in the comments. But make sure you keep that orientation when you do it. It's a good idea to take a picture of how the spokes cross also. And there's also a good video by Cameron Niemela that explains how to lace a rim correctly, and he is actually using a Honda rim. So I'll put a link in the description about that too. Very, very helpful. If I didn't have that video, I think I would have got lost. I had the rim the wrong way initially, and some of the spokes were poking through. Also, I would say use duct tape. Leave your rubber band that comes over the nipples if you have it, but also double side some duct tape, one side to the other, and go around the rim, and put a hole for your rim lock and for your valve stem. It's just extra protection. It keeps anything from rubbing against your tube. If you want to spend the money, I would highly recommend more heavy duty tubes than what come in these. These are pretty crappy tubes. I actually had to put a patch on the one in the rear from when I destroyed the rim. The spoke came through it. But so durability-wise, I was able to get a couple more hours in on the bike since the last time I posted a video about durability. I have no problems. Still, everything seems to be holding together, not having anything really break. And you know, you might be laughing, well, what about the rims that you destroyed? Well, let's talk about that. I did a video that said, don't have unrealistic expectations, and that is what I'm talking about. This bike was not designed to go on a motocross track, and that's what I ended up having to do. My trails were, the trail system that I go to a lot was not available for months because of the weather. And I got my bike in October, so I was dealing with all the winter months when it's really muddy and slick. We have clay here, it's very hard. and then the leaves fall on top of that, and it just becomes almost impassable in a safe manner. I mean, obviously there's some really good skilled riders that will go out in it, but I just feel like when it gets to be the winter time, I don't want to deal with that and slipping and sliding and trying to go through the terrain. So I ended up doing quite a bit of my riding at the motocross park, just a natural terrain outdoor track. No, it's not even a natural terrain, actually. They build ramps, you know, they build jumps and stuff on it. But so that's about it. Durability wise, like I said, it's given me no problems, really no issues. And I'm still happy with it. I still think it makes decent power. It's got a lot of torque. I mean, especially if you guys want to ride single track, man, this thing is awesome for that, I believe. The weight is a negative, but there are things that can be done. I mean, Orion does offer a aluminum swing arm. You can take off your kickstand, you can take off your Kickstarter. A lithium-ion battery right there is going to give you 3 or 4 pounds. You know, people have put aluminum foot pegs on. Just anywhere that you can think of to lighten some weight, you can gain grams, and then they become ounces and become pounds. And you know, it should not be that hard to knock off 10 pounds pretty quick and easy. After that, it becomes expensive, but. So I'm going to end it right there. Like I said, happy Easter. Hope you guys are all doing well and everybody's safe and in good health from the coronavirus. And I'll catch you next time.